Good afternoon. So, it's been a chaotic week in politics. On Sunday, we found out that President Biden is dropping out and that he's not going to seek a second term in office, handing on and endorsing his VP Kamala Harris. A week after, the former president and presidential candidate was nearly assassinated, missing by an inch. A day before, Prime Minister Netanyahu came to address both houses of Congress, meet the president, the vice president, and the former president, and speak to both houses of Congress where the VP will not reside, even though that's tradition. There's so much going on. But I'm not going to speak politics for you because that's not what we're here for, and you don't need my opinion. What I'm going to speak is Torah. For some reason, my Facebook Live keeps on getting disconnected. Maybe it's a message that I should stay away from these things. But actually, in this week's Torah portion, we also read of a transition of leadership that's super painful and hard and emotional, but has so many lessons for us in a time that we crave real leadership, that we crave authentic leadership, that we crave caring, sensitive, empathetic, kind leadership that loves and gives, doesn't just take. It's a story of Moses, the first leader of the Jewish people. And our God tells him the time has come for you to gather to your people and to hand the baton to a new leader. And suddenly Moses turns to God in the most serious and stern way. And he says, God, Yifkod Elokim Elokei Aruchos, may the Almighty, who's the God of all spirits, appoint someone upon the Jewish people. Asher Yetzei Lifneim, who will go out in front of them and will come in front of them, who will take them and who will bring them. And the people should not be like a sheep, like a flock, without a shepherd. How moving are those words? The rabbis tell us that Moses was the epitome of leadership, of true, caring, kind leadership. And Moses wanted the Jewish people to have a leader that understood the spirits of people, which meant that didn't just see them physically in front of them, but understood their emotions, their feelings, their shortcomings, their strengths and their weaknesses, their challenges, their traumas that they had, the crises in their life, and would be able to be empathetic, would be able to listen to them, would be able to care for them. And he wanted a leader, secondly, that will go in front of them and come in front of them. Today we have leaders that look back the whole time, that don't follow by conviction, that don't have real morals and real ideas, but they do what they're told. The Kotzker Rebbe says, that it says in the Gemara, that before Mashiach comes, the face of the leaders are going to be like the face of dogs. And he says, why dogs? He says, you ever see a dog walking in the street with its owner? Who's in front and who's behind? The dog is always in the front and the master is always behind. How do you know who the owner is? Because every little while the dog looks back to make sure that the owner is still there. And that's the story with our leaders. That's what the Torah is telling us. Moses wanted a leader that will understand and be empathetic for the people, but will also have the courage to lead by example, by conviction, by morals. We're living in a bankrupt time with leadership without integrity, without morals, with leadership that panders to the people. Think about what's going on for 9 months in America with the radical demonstrations and colleges, people supporting Hamas. And our leaders are scared to say anything. Why? You think because they don't know it's wrong? Of course they know it's wrong, but they're scared about the elections, about their constituents, about people that might vote for them. Says God. God teaches us the most important lesson about the ultimate, truest leader that existed, Moshe Rabbeinu, who wanted someone that could understand the people, but could also have the conviction to be able to make the right decisions because they're right, even if sometimes it's painful, and even if sometimes it costs you. And it goes on so movingly to tell us the way God tells Moses to take his hands and place it on Joshua in front of Elazar the high priest, and that he should put his hand on him and give him some of his spirit, some of his holiness, so Joshua could be the new leader that will do just that. But the verse continues to tell us that Moses didn't just put his hand on him, he put both of his hands. Vayismoch es yadav. And Rashi immediately notices that nuance and says, that's the true sense of leadership. Moses, God said, give him one hand, give him some of your spirit. But Moses gave him everything, as much as he could. Because Moses wasn't afraid of Joshua succeeding. He wanted Joshua to succeed. In fact, he knew that in order for what he did to continue, the people needed a leader that will be strong and successful as he was. That's what true leadership is. You think about what's going on now. I wonder to myself, why isn't VP Kamala Harris residing over the only democratic country's leader's speech to both houses of Congress? Because she has a pre-planned schedule? Or because she's worried and looking back at what some of her constituents will say and if it'll be good for her to vote? Let us pray that we could have leaders like Moses with empathy and kindness